Hi guys, welcome back. Tonight we are going to make some beef Wellington with some garlic butter green beans and some horseradish with potatoes for a family dinner tonight, so I will take you through the process step by step. Okay, so obviously the first step is to recruit my dad to move his soccer watching to the kitchen so he can trim some green beans for me to get those started. Then, to start my steaks off for the Wellington, I just put some salt, garlic powder, and no salt seasoning on both sides, and just seared those for 1 minute on each side and a little bit of butter in a pan over medium-high heat. And then after I had seared both of those sides, I just moved them onto a baking tray lined with aluminum foil, at which point I will put them into the oven at 400 degrees for 35 minutes just to cook a little bit more on the inside. Filling part of my Wellington, I'm cutting up one whole onion and chopping it into small pieces and then adding it into a pan over medium heat with a little bit of butter. Then I do the same thing with some mushrooms, so I wash them, I trim them, and then I roughly chop them and then add them to my food processor to do most of the work for me to get it into tiny pieces. So you can see here I'm watching Glee in the background as I pulse those up. You don't want them to be super duper fine like a pulp, but you want them to be tiny. And then I add those into the pan with the onion while I uncover about 4 to 5 cloves of garlic. And then I use my garlic press just to press those into the mushroom and onion mixture and stir that in. And then of course I had to add some salt and pepper and stir that in as well. Okay, so this is what it looks like now. I'm just stirring in the garlic. Obviously the mushrooms are releasing a lot of water, so the goal is just to dry them out. So I just have it over medium heat. Also ignore how messy the kitchen is. I like to mess it all up and then clean it, and then my dad gets mad at me. But I'm just going to let all this water vapor cook out, and then over here I'm boiling I think 7 or 8 potatoes over high heat. I'm just going to cook them until fork tender. And then over there I have my green beans, which will be the very last step. To finish off the mushroom mixture, I just added in 2 packages of this Boursin garlic and herb cheese. It's a very soft cheese and it melts in really easily. You could put those separately in the beef Wellingtons, but I thought it'd be easier just to mix them together. So I just stirred those together until they became one, and then I poured them out into a bowl so they can cool. You want both the steaks and this filling to be cool before you put it on top of the cold puff pastry, which is something I struggled with, but it still worked out in the end. Okay, so as I kept doing these, I got the hang of it better, but this was my first attempt. So I took one sheet of puff pastry on a floured surface and rolled it out to be larger than it was, and then I used a knife to cut it into 8 equal sections. I was going to use 1 sheet per 4 steaks, so each rectangle would be for the bottom or the top of 1 beef Wellington. So all I did was grease up a pan in the background to put them on top of when I was done, but I just scooped a spoonful of the filling onto 1 rectangle of puff pastry. Then I added my steak, and then I just put another spoonful or so on top of the filling and try to get a little bit on the edges. And then I had a egg wash made on the side. That's just 1 egg beaten with a little bit of water, which then I lined the sides of the puff pastry with, and then I stretched out the top part and folded it over, and then I tried to connect the two, but then the filling was spilling out and the egg was getting everywhere, and I was like, how does Gordon Ramsay do this? I don't understand. But I just put it on the sheet anyway, and then I tried to fix it with a fork like I was making pierogi, and that didn't work either, but I thought it'd be fine because I was running out of time. So then on my second attempt, I changed it by rolling out the puff pastry even larger so they were bigger pieces. And then I did the same thing where I cut them into 8 equal sections. So it was pretty much the same plan so far. and then I put the spoonful of filling on the bottom, steak on top, spoonful of filling. But instead this time I rolled out the second piece to be larger, did the egg wash thing, but then I kind of cupped the bottom part around and then put the other one on top and did it kind of like upside down so both sides were covered. And then the last 4 worked out a little bit better, but then I just put some egg wash on top of everything just to get some nice browning in the oven, and then I sprinkled them with salt and then used a knife to make a cute little leaf design that didn't look too cute, but it was fine. Alright, so this is what I'm working with. These look terrible. These look decent now that I switched the folding method, but it's just for my family, so I think that'll be fine. I'm just going to sprinkle them with salt and then put them in the freezer for half an hour so the puff pastry sets. Okay, so while my puff pastry was setting in the freezer, I worked on my potatoes. I just drained them from the water when they were fork tender, put them in a large bowl while they were still hot, and here I'm adding half a cup of sour cream or Greek yogurt, some salt and pepper, and then a little bit of butter, and then I'm just using my hand mixer to whip them up really nice and good and mash them. And then to give them a twist, I added about 2 to 3 tablespoons of horseradish. I gave them a little bit of a kick, and it sounds weird, but it actually helps you with your portion control because you're satisfied with less of them, which everyone in my family needs. I transfer them from the bowl into this baking dish, and then I'll bake it for 10 minutes as the beef tenderloin is finishing, or beef Wellington, which I put in the oven for 400 degrees for 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna turn around the pan and then bake it for another 15 at 400, and then decrease the temperature to 350, and then cook that with the potatoes for 10 minutes. I high-key forgot all about the beans, so I just boiled some water and tossed them in there for about 5 to 7 minutes, and then drained them and added garlic and then butter and just mixed it up. So that wasn't too complicated at all. Just a live look of everyone getting pumped for beef Wellington. Woo! And that's what it looked like at the end. It got some nice browning, and I think they turned out pretty well. And over here you see my dad cutting into them. My family likes, well, most of them except for my sister, when we're cooking from home, likes it to be well done just to make sure we don't kill each other with our meat, but that's what it looks like.
Artichokes?
No, regular.
What? Hurt?
Good or hot? Hot. But is it good? Okay. Holy poop! Tata, the onions are killing me. Well, you're supposed to save me. Good effort, thank you.
You kidding me, Onion?
I don't think Onion gives a crap.
Fucking Onion, leave her alone. Wash it, clean
I'm
it.
going to!
But you didn't do it, what I ask.
Well,
That's
right.
the damn problem.
But
Teraz będziesz tu odkręcać, przekręcać, to pochlapiesz, będziesz mokry
I just
zostawić.
wanted to get my pot out. Okay? Have a safe drive.